And howdy everybody, B Junior back in the cave today, back in action once again to do a movie review for you today on one of these excellent Blu-ray and DVD combo packs that's been put out by Synapse Films. It's been sent out for review today. The Hammer Horror Collection continues with the third part in the Karnstein trilogy from from that era of Hammer Films, entitled Twins of Evil. That's right, guys. Look at that cover art. They do some of the best cover arts over at Synapse Films. Vampires. Twin vampires in this one, guys. Twins of Evil has been put out recently, as I said before, by Synapse Films. They're doing wonderful stuff with these guys. Just to say a side note before we get into the story and special features rundown on this one. Viewed it all recently in its entirety. And I gotta say, guys, it never ceases to amaze me how good these Blu-ray DVD combo packs that Synapse is putting out. These things are loaded with special features. First and foremost, let's talk about the picture and sound quality, except none other than the best these older films are going to ever look, or have looked since their movie viewing days at the old theater days. These films, what I love most about Synapse Films, basically they take the time to do a picture and sound restoration that make these older films especially, look like brand new films. This film, the picture and sound quality, you're not going to see a better restoration, except for, you have to accept a little bit for some of the older films, because there's going to be some grain in there. There's going to be some grittiness, and if they patched back in some older scenes that were thought to be long lost, things like that. So expect a little bit around the edges, but not. It's not going to be anything to take away from the overall viewing experience, is where I'm coming from. Also, they load these up with special features, and on the special features, let me say a little side note as well. The special features that Synapse put on these is basically the collector's special features, the ones that a collector would want. I'm not talking about just the run-of-the-mill press junket stuff that's on like your mainstream movie house releasing companies. I'm not going to say any names, but whenever I see those kind of just run-of-the-mill press junket behind the scenes, what they call behind the scenes, I just kind of graze over those. I don't really watch those. But every single one of these Synapse releases that have come out, they have excellent behind-the-scenes special features. They go back to the beginning. They get the interviews that you want with the creators, the actors from the films, people to give commentary, the people that you want to hear the commentary on, basically. Theatrical trailers are included, of course. We'll get more into the rundown, the special features and everything. Let's talk about the story of Twins of Evil first, and then we'll do you a quick rundown on the special features therein. As I said before, the third part in the Karnstein trilogy of films from the early 70s. This movie was released, I believe, in 72, if I'm not mistaken. Around about the same time as Vampire Circus and a few other films with that odd, quirky atmosphere that Hammer was dabbling in at that time. Hammer basically had their golden years in the late 50s and 60s, and when they got into about that late 60s, early 70s era, that's particularly my favorite of that era. I don't know why, but when you say Hammer films, a lot of people are always like, no, 50s, the Hammer films of the 50s are the best. I beg to differ, because there's some really good ones out there. You just have to search around to find them. That's the problem a lot of times. But luckily with Synapse Films, other ones like Vampire Circus, Twins of Evil, are seeing the light of day finally, and they're getting their due. So, and they're doing it in the best format possible, Blu-ray. So, got to be honest, guys, they've done an excellent job with this one. The rundown on Twins of Evil, as I said before, comes from the early 70s Hammer school of films, centering around Count Karnstein there on the cover, and the integral parts in the film, the twins, the Collinsworth twins, Playboy starlets from the yesteryear, show up in pivotal roles in the film, as I might add. Basically centers around Count Karnstein, who is basically who is mentally dueling, at least in the beginning of the film, with Peter Cushing's character, who is a leader of a Puritan group who goes around the countryside burning young ladies at the stake for witchcraft and everything else under the sun. Count Karnstein is dabbling in the black arts, Satanism, whatever you want to call it, basically wanting to learn the black arts, gain power from it and all that. So he basically makes a deal that through a sacrifice to take on the powers of vampirism, and then havoc ensues thereafter. I don't want to spoil it because the twins come into the story during about the end of the first act, and that's when the real mystery starts and all the weird atmosphere ensues thereafter. Then it all comes together in the third act, and a lot of action ensues. Some gorehounds will be their thirst will be quenched with this movie because there is some good gore, especially towards the end of the film. There's an excellent beheading scene. I don't want to spoil it. So basically, beyond that, some other supporting roles in the film is, as I said before, by of course Peter Cushing, who was in an umpteen of these films back in the day. David Warbeck, who I know mostly from the Beyond Lucio Fulci film that I really love. He turns in a good supporting role in this film as a local village teacher who basically helps out in the plot against vampirism in this film. I don't want to say too much else about the film because I want you to watch it. I want you guys to see it for what it is. Just know that you have to basically like Hammer films of the late 60s, early 70s to get your full, if you really want to add this one to your collection. I would say probably view it first to see if it's your cup of tea. Try to find a rental copy or basically Netflix it, borrow it from a buddy. I can highly recommend it because I'm kind of biased. I really love Hammer films of that era, but if you're not of that era and you're kind of on the fence about it, probably give it a viewing first is my best advice to you. I'd say if you're a collector of this era and you want a really decent Blu-ray presentation of it, go ahead and pick it up. That's kind of where I come out on this one. Let's go over the fantastic special features, as they're called, on the back here. What I love about it, there again, I can't plug this enough, The Flesh and the Fury, Exposing the Twins of Evil, 84-minute feature-length documentary, in-depth documentary, I mind you, about Hammer films, the beginning of Hammer films, centering around mostly this era of filmmaking, and then it culminates with the making of this film. Just anybody and everybody that was involved in the creative process of Hammer films at that time, and the creative backing of Twins of Evil as well. The props that Hammer built, the Kinsey Collection featurette, Blu-ray exclusive. You can only get that on the Blu-ray version. Motion Still Gallery, Blu-ray exclusive there again. Deleted Scene, Blu-ray exclusive. Isolated Music and Effects track, only on the Blu-ray as well. Theatrical trailer, TV spots. It's loaded, guys. Loaded to the hilt with special features. It also has a Blu-ray, a DVD as well. Let's give you a little shot here of the presentation on the inside as well. Here you have Twins of Evil, the Blu-ray, and Twins of Evil, the DVD. Got some good cover art, and there again, can't say enough about Synapse's releases because they take the time to put cover art on the disc, which I can say some of the mainstream releasing houses don't do that anymore. They just give you a gray sticker with the title on it, which I think is chinchy. Reversible cover art on the inside, guys, of the twins there. Love that stuff, guys. Those are the little additives, the little nerdy additives that collectors really want, and Synapse is giving it to us, guys. Giving it to us with fangs in this one. Gotta say, really, really happy with this Blu-ray DVD combo pack. Of course, I'm into that type of thing. Aspect ratio 1:6:1, 2.0 mono stereo for the soundtrack. The sound is very clean in these releases. I spot watched the DVD. I've watched the Blu-ray in its entirety. It checks out. I'd say at least a 3 out of 4 star on the picture quality for the Blu-ray, and as well for the sound, 3 out of 4 stars. The DVD is as good as it can look. It looks great as well because it's of the same transfer. Directed by John Ho, 1972. Guys, this one is a Region A only, Region 1 release. I say get it while the getting's good. And excuse me, I need to back up, 1971 release. I apologize. Know a man by a guy who can say when he's wrong there. Not rated. There is some gore. There's some brief nudity in there, but no bad language or anything like that. So I think this is one of those films I can leave you with saying, if you're not into Hammer films, films like this and Vampire Circus, some of the Christopher Lee vampire films that were made out in that time, anything with Peter Cushing, if you just want to get your feet wet, accept none of some of these great releases from Synapse. If you can get a hold of these, try them out, see if they're your cup of tea. I'll say that, and I'll leave you with that, guys. I say buy it if you're into Hammer films. If not, give it a look-see, because Synapse is doing some wonderful things, guys. They not only Hammer Films, they've got Blu-rays out for The Exterminator, Intruder, the long lost Sam Raimi joint from the 80s there. Also has a cameo of Bruce Campbell in it. You know, I could go on and on. The Dorm That Dripped Blood, I thought I would never see that movie, aka Pranks. I thought I would never see that movie on Blu-ray, but it happened. So there again, guys, can't say enough about it. Twins of Evil, check it out. I'm going to leave you as I found you. Take care, dudes, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.